Welcome everyone to Evony Throne Time with Viri from Server 360. I will be going over some March types today. Not so much the individual type, but how to calculate them easily so you can put them into your device, your phone, your tablet, whatever it may be that you're playing on, or even your computer. I know me personally, I hate doing that, and I hate trying to figure out what my percentages are on a scratch piece of paper and then using that scratch paper to enter into my device. So for quite some time I've been using a program that I made through Excel. And so this program here, and don't let it intimidate you with all the numbers and columns here, it's very simple once you dig into it and basically analyze where the information is. There's only a few places here that you need to focus on, and I will go over those in the next few minutes. I will throw a caveat in there. You should be maximizing your March buff size for anyone who PvPs. Right now, my Roland is at 1.5 million March. That's the minimum March he has. In order to do this accurately and correctly, I would suggest you go in and setting 2 of your buffs. So when you do PvP and you activate those buffs, you're going to maximize your March once you set it as a preset. The first one would be March size capacity. I always use the senior March size since that's what I have the most of. Some of you may have medium, and many of you will have junior as the most. You're going to look at this little number there and see what you use the most of, so you're not going to burn through the larger ones or smaller ones, depending on what keep size you are and how many of these you have. So March size is 1. The next one would be all troops attack. I do not do the 10-minute. I always do the 1 hour for 2 purposes. It's not often I use the 10-minute. I only use that when I'm rallying typically. Most of the time I have the 1 hour increase, and I'll use that. The second purpose is it gives me an hour to actually input all of my information into my March preset. If this buff runs out before I get done, it's not going to work. So don't use a 10-minute. A lot of you will have, as you can see, I have a ton of these. It's rare I use them, but the 1 hour attack 10% increase. You can also use that one, depending on your level and your game style. So those 2, March size and all troops attack. Make sure that buff is on, and the number in your the March size will increase to whatever that number may be once you activate them. Okay, so let's pretend I've activated the buffs, and 1.573 is no longer that. It's actually 2.289 million troops. So I'm going to take that number and I'm going to enter every bit of that number into my March size. Very key component here. You must have that March size there in order for this spreadsheet to effectively work. Total troops and keep, that's important as well. Enter the total troops do not enter anything in this box. You won't be able to physically do that because I have it locked. But what you will need to do is enter every single level and troop type into these 4 columns right here. It's going to take you a little time, but it's well worth it. Once you do that, now this number will populate, and I have 21,744,660 troops. Why is that important? It's important because if I do not enter the correct amount, let's say I enter the wrong amount here and I put 12,000 instead of 120,000, when I do the calculations eventually, this number is going to be off, and I'm not utilizing as many ground troops as I actually could if this number is incorrect. So again, you're going to want to compare that number with your total troops in your keep, which is right here. Okay. Now, some of you may be looking at mine saying, "Oh, Viri, you're off." Well, no, I'm not. I have 20,860,000 right now, but I do have some right over here. We just got done with SVS that need to be revived. So if you add that number to the other number, you will reach the number that I have in my spreadsheet. So with that out of the way, make sure you're entering all this information in each of these columns so you're accurate with that total troops and keep. The next thing you'll see at the top here, we have percentages. This is based off the entire troop type, okay? This percentage on each and every one of these must equal 100%, all right? If you put in 5% here and you notice that it's 96,000, then something is wrong, okay? Something is majorly wrong. And I'll show you why if I do that 5% again. Right here, well, one, it says 96%. That's not right. Two, this is telling me I need to add troops. Something's wrong, okay? I need to look in a couple of places. If this is at if this is at 100%, then each of these boxes is, one of them is not, or two of them is not, okay? These percentages down here are actually individual percentages added up between your troop type, or excuse me, your troops, and the percentage that you want to allot or devote to the specific march that you're making. All right, if this doesn't equal 100%, and I put 25 in here, then this number is going to say, hey, I need to add some troops. I'm not maximizing what I have out of this 782,000. You see that it's added 57,000 troops to this, but if I had it accurate, ooh, that just jumped up to another 16,000 troops, which everything adds up, 100, 100, 0 troops, etc. I know it may sound confusing right now, but once you start to use this, you'll be like, wow, this is much easier than what I've been doing in most cases. So now that we've kind of got the ground rules out of the way, all of these percentages have to be 100, you can now go through each type and figure out what is the best march for you, or what you think the best march is. A lot of people will use maybe an 80, 10, 5, 5 rule, or 70, 10, 10, 10, whatever the percentages equal out to 100%, you have to figure that out based off your troop type, your general, your buffs, your keep level, all that good information, and your research. I'm just simply giving you an easy way to calculate and play around with this to figure out what's going to work best for you. All these grayed out numbers down here, if there's something missing, okay, we can put 1% here, and we're not at 100%. So it's going to tell me, one, up here something's wrong, and two, individually on the type of troop, there's something wrong. Okay, so I can put let's put 2% in here. So I don't have enough troops here, but I have too many here. Okay, it's just reciprocals on these working. Too many here, not enough here. I'm just going to hit the back button to make it easy, but we want all these numbers at 0 as well as this number. And you can see our totals here at the bottom. This number is actually 10% of the 2,289,000 troops I have there. If you were to change this to 15%, that would bring it up to 343,000. It is exactly 15% of this number. Okay, so you really have some breathing room to kind of figure out what may work best for you. Okay, so last thing I'll go over is this section down below. All right, this section down below, you can't enter any information in here. All it's doing is duplicating the information that's above, bringing it downstairs to make it easier to enter into your device than to look at every column up here. It's easier, I find, at least for me, it's easier for me to read down or up, down, up, down, up, down than it is cross, back, especially when you have all these numbers here. You know how Evony is, and in the March area, it's going to read ground, archer, cavalry, siege. Okay, let's get back to the rally. And we'll look at that. Troop details. It's going to be ground, archer, cavalry, siege. Ground, archer, cavalry, siege. So this is just a helpful little box where you could look quickly, enter these numbers. They're all color coded to the troop type like it is above, and you can go through all the way down to T1s. This little box on the side, nothing you can enter there. This number is exactly what this number is going to be. If there's a discrepancy, you are going to find it by looking here, here, down in this gray area, and in these percentage boxes. Anyways, I kind of ran through that fairly quickly, but nonetheless, you get the gist of it. If there is anyone that would like this spreadsheet and use it, you need to have Excel. It is a macro-enabled spreadsheet or workbook, so you will need to activate the macros once you get it. But you can send me a comment and request it. If you do send a comment, give me your email in the comment. If you feel safer just sending me an email directly without your email being exposed, you can send that to viribus007@gmail.com. That's V as in Victor, I as in Ingrid, R as in Romeo, I as in Ingrid, B as in bus, U as in umbrella, and S as in Sam 007@gmail.com. And it'll be here right on your screen. Until next time, live life first, play Evony second, and I will see you on the battlefield.